you?
Hey, Jenna, how are you doing? I'm doing well.
I'm good. I'm good. Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you too. It's been a little while since conference.
I know, I know. Time flies by. It's crazy.
I know. And Christmas is just around the corner already. So
I
much
know.
shopping I still have to do.
Me too. I know. We started decorating today, so I was like, I'm not waiting until after Thanksgiving. I want to enjoy it. There's not enough time to
Mm-hmm.
enjoy it between them.
Yep.
It's crazy, but
Break out the Mariah Carey.
I know, I know. I love it. I love Christmas. So, that's awesome. But did you ever get time at conference? I know I got to meet you there and
Conference is always such a blast. It's amazing to meet everybody from all across the country. Being in my home state of Texas, it was just a short drive down from Dallas. Getting to meet a lot of Texas folk and connect with them was awesome. And but also meeting people from East Coast, West Coast, different countries. I think I had lunch, dinner, or breakfast, one of the three with people from like 5 or 6 different countries over the course of conference. So from Argentina to I can't remember. There was a country in Central Europe to Mexico to several other countries around, and it was pretty cool.
yes, that's awesome. I know I actually met a guy from Switzerland. Did you meet him or no?
I'm trying to remember back. I've slept since then, so
I know. There were so many people there, but I couldn't believe that when he told me. I was like, wow, that's so far away to travel.
it's a long haul. That's for
I
sure.
know. I was like, that is awesome. So how many conferences have you been to?
It is. I've been going every year since 2018, the Dallas conference.
Um,
So
oh, that's
that's
awesome.
six, carry the one, divided by pi. Yeah, 6.
60. Wow. Well, that's cool. Yeah, that was my first one in Austin, and I loved it. I wish I would have gone sooner before then because I love meeting all the people, and I've known so many online that I actually got to meet in person for the first time, and so that was pretty awesome.
It's an amazing getting to meet people just face to face, not having to wait on the cycle of Facebook or Instagram to pop
Yeah,
up, or maybe you just happen to catch that thread at the right time, and we can just have that conversation and be able to enjoy community and fellowship together, where everything that we have to deal with on a day-to-day basis is just normal. It's just life. It doesn't matter. So I
yeah,
think there's a lot of while there's a lot of stress into getting to conference, right? There's a lot of stress relief being there and having that community around you for just
yeah.
left, right, and center. It's great.
Yes, I know. I know. People ask me, like, well, what all did you learn? What was your favorite part? And I was like, well, I loved all the sessions, but to be honest, just like you said, being with all the community and meeting everyone, I mean, that was my favorite part. But I'm a social butterfly too, so
Hmm.
so I love that part of it for sure. But yeah, it was pretty awesome. Well, go ahead and introduce yourself to everybody. Tell us where you're from.
All right. Well, again, my name's Tyler. I live out in Tyler Dukes. If you're looking me up on all the social medias, I live in a little tiny place called Salina, Texas. It is the fastest growing city in America right now. It is booming out here. It is a suburb of the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. So I'm on the far north side, but the whole Metroplex is growing. So I won't be on the far north side for much longer. And it'll just grow past me and keep on going to the Red River.
Yeah, Well, that's awesome. Have you lived there your whole life or?
For the vast majority, early on, I lived out in Clarksville, Tennessee. So I'm originally a Tennessee boy, and I got to Texas as fast as I could, as they say. So
Mhm.
family moved down here, and when I was, I believe, like four, right, and then I've been here ever since in the Metroplex outside of for college. With college, I went about 200 miles south to Waco, Texas, to study at Baylor University. And I did my 4 years and 4 years only. I was on a 4 year plan. We had to be done. I
Yeah.
got through and got a degree there and made some good friends and came back to Dallas where family was and been here and there, but always here in the Metroplex.
Well, that is neat. Well, I know some people who also went to Baylor, so it's a pretty awesome university. And
Mhm.
like, so how old are you?
Um, 36. I'm to the point now where I have to count now. So
Well, you're still young. You're under 40, so you're still young.
it's yeah, but my I had lunch with my mom today and my niece. I have several nieces and nephews, and one niece went off to had a class of shirt today, and she was like, "Oh, look, it's a class of like 2032." I'm like, "I'm not ready to see that. Like, I don't need that." And
I
so,
know. Now, how old is she?
she is 10 right now. One
10.
of them. I have several nieces and
Mm,
nephews that range from about to be 17 to 6. So it's a full
wow.
gamut. They are awesome. Love them to death. And a
Oh,
nephew in there. Can't forget my nephew. So
and
if he sees this, right, and I'm not forgetting you. So
yeah, that is awesome. Yeah, nieces and nephews are the best for
they
sure.
are.
We get to spoil them and then we can send them home.
Yes. Return policy is great.
Yeah, oh, no, that's the best part. It's awesome.
Hmm.
Well, that's awesome. Well, tell us about you having SMA. How old were you when you were diagnosed, and like, how did your parents start noticing something was different?
Yeah. So we're actually coming up on the anniversary of my diagnosis. It's actually in November. It was diagnosed in November of 1989,
Mm-hmm.
many moons ago. Was a very, very different outlook on life back then. But before getting there, when I was born, met the normal milestones for an infant and a toddler. So I was fortunate enough to be able to roll over, crawl, walk. But I was at a like a caregiving or care center, daycare. That's the word. Thank you. Where they started noticing that I was picking up toys, but I wouldn't like squat down to pick up toys. I would just bend over straight leg and I would start falling. And at the time, we were living in Tennessee, so going to I think it was Vanderbilt at one point to seeing what's going on. They referred us out to children's in um, St. Louis, right? And then, they back then it was muscle biopsies, right? So going in, taking a muscle biopsy, doing that. And yeah, I believe it was November 23rd, 1989, when somebody just left a voicemail on my parents' voice machine saying that I had SMA. So
Wow.
let's just sidestep the whole HIPAA issue and
Yeah,
bedside manner. So
it
it was, and I learned all this stuff right as an adult, right? They were awesome, but it never changed my parents' outlook on me. It would just meant things were going to look a little different, but expectations were relatively the same. So I know a lot of things happened in that time that just as a child, you're not aware of. So I know my parents did a fantastic job bringing me up, and making sure that, okay, just because you have SMA, it doesn't really change change our expectations of you. Doesn't mean we're not going to love you or any of those things, right? It's just a different set of challenges now.
Yeah. Yes. Wow,
So,
that is so crazy. They just left the voicemail. Like,
yep, it's
wow.
I'm glad I don't know who that person is because I
Yeah.
have strong words for them today.
Yes, for sure. Because I mean, usually back in that day, they would tell you like come in to the office to tell you some news like this face to face. Not
Yeah,
wow. That's
yeah, there was a lot of, I know there was eventually face to face, but there was just a voicemail left with that. So that's
mm-hmm,
how a lot of people or we found out. And
mm-hmm,
um, but to me, and I think anybody else who grows up with SMA, it's just that's just life, right? There's nothing different, it's just okay, whatever, But so I was initially diagnosed with SMA type 2. Though as medicine has advanced, genome sequencing, all the good, cool, fancy science stuff, that's way smarter people than me. Um,
me too.
I'm actually reclassified as a SMA type 3 now because
Oh,
of the because I actually walked at one point in time, so that makes me a SMA type 3. So I grew up,
really?
I was able to walk until about I was think about second grade, somewhere in there, with the help of like orthopedic braces. But like I got my first wheelchair when I was 2. It's candy apple red, and just kept moving right along. So we just kind of made things worse, no, made things work, and then life is life. Keep going.
I remember that's funny you said that about your first wheelchair. I remember mine too. It's crazy. How old were you when you first got your electric wheelchair? Was
Uh, yeah, it was about fourth grade for me. I think at that
okay.
point in time,
Mm-hmm.
it really that I got a scooter, which I didn't get an electric wheelchair at first. This was more we did a scooter kind of on our own. Again, we had a interesting relationship with our doctors. So we did a scooter just as classes started to get a little farther apart, right? Kids are running around a little bit more, a little harder to keep up with. So that was
Mm-hmm.
giving me my a little bit more ability, independence. And then by the time we reached middle school, that's when I got an actual power chair because just the school distances were too much, right?
Yeah,
It was even
yeah.
for um, a a scooter, a little cub thing that I think we had at the pack.
Uh-huh.
So
Yeah. Yeah, I know. And I know when I tell people I got one that young, they're like, "Whoa, that's young." I'm like, but not really. It's just the same as learning how to walk. It's that we learn how to
yeah,
drive.
yep.
So
I still remember with power chair. My dad used to have a pontoon boat up at Lake Texoma, and we would go out on the boat docks and spend weekends out there and get on the boat and all that. And the boat dock at some point is 30 inches wide, and my chair is 29 inches wide, and there's 10 feet of water.
yeah.
You learn how to drive very well really quickly. So
Yes. Oh, yes.
it was great.
I've been on many pontoon boats too, and I know it is scary when the docks are so narrow, especially if you have to turn to go up the ramp to get on
Yep.
the boat. It's like, oh God, please don't let the waves come and move the boat because
You have to commit when you're getting on that boat. You just have to go.
yes, you just have to, I know, you have to go as fast as you can. Yeah, that's awesome. Well, you told us you went to Baylor, and that is pretty impressive, 4 years. That's awesome. It took me 5 years, but I did change my major. So, but 4 years is impressive. So, what did you get your degree in?
I also changed my major, but
Mhm.
Baylor with the tuition cost and
Yeah,
It was still, you're going to be on the 4-year plan. So
yeah.
we need to get this done. So I got my act together, act change majors after my freshman year, and I have a journalism degree from Baylor University, Bachelor of Arts with a minor in corporate communication.
Mhm.
And now I'm an engineering manager. So totally really using that degree right now, but I use it in a lot of different aspects of work, but not in the traditional sense, if you will.
Yes, well, I think there's a lot of people out there that do that. Get a degree and then do something totally different. But yeah, that is. Well, go ahead and tell us about your current job. What do you
Yep.
do?
So right now, I am a DevOps engineering manager, which
Mhm.
basically is a super fancy term for I wear a lot of hats. With that, I have an international team of 9 that I manage between here in the States, some individuals in Slovakia, and other individuals in India. So my head works in multiple time zones during the day and working around the world with different people, cultures, backgrounds. It's amazing. We do a lot of work with automation. So whether
Mhm.
that is really automating with the goal to reduce friction between developers and getting the fancy new thing that they are making, right? Out the door to the public, with for the company to make money, right? So our job is to help them get that idea from their machine out the door quicker and everything else along and help reduce friction with other teams. So it's a very interesting, challenging, and rewarding job. I love my team to death. I have amazing people that work for me, and I get to work for them. And just being able to experience all of the different cultures without
Yeah,
having to leave, right?
yeah,
It
yeah,
it's amazing. I learned about different faiths, food, music, movies, architecture, landscapes. Sometimes I have somebody that, as we all are in a more remote work these days, right? They might be out doing something and they're like, hey, can we work remote today? Or I'm going to be out remote, from my normal desk, and they'll message me or something, and it's a picture of like the Swiss Alps in the background or some beautiful castle. I'm like, I have,
yeah.
I got cows here in Texas. And so also, I mean, we have beautiful things here in Texas too. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
Texas is beautiful. It's just, things that you wouldn't get to see normally here in the States, unless you're maybe living in the mountains or in a certain region, right?
yeah,
Being able to kind of live vicariously a little bit through them, through the different things that they do, to hear that is awesome. And then vice versa, we got people here in the States and live in different parts of the country, and some live here in the Metroplex, and
mhm.
we'll get together and hang out and have fun.
Well, that is really neat. Do you work from home or?
Yes, I do. So you're actually seeing my office. So this is where I'm at,
Uh,
5 days a week, and
mhm.
trying not to work all hours of the day. That's my goal.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's really neat to see all the different cultures and meet all the different people. Yeah, that's really neat. It's amazing. One thing that I guess the pandemic did do for us is, having so much more freedom of working from home and working remotely. And
Yes.
I mean, I know some of it has bad things and then some are good, but I think a lot of us, especially with SMA, have definitely benefited from all of this.
Yeah,
For,
I really think it opens up a lot more doors, especially in the
yeah,
corporate world, right?
yeah,
To allow people to go in and have an interview and say,
yeah,
"Hey, I need this accommodation," and that shouldn't really be that big of a deal. They should have infrastructure available or have done it to the
uh,
point to allow somebody the opportunity to be successful in
Uh,
it.
yeah, that is true for sure. Well, well, tell us, so you have type three. So for people out there who might be watching this for the first time, there's three different types of SMA. Well, actually, there's four now, four different types of SMA that they just came out with. The fourth one's recently new. But for type three, like you said, you were diagnosed with that because you did walk at some point in your lifetime. And so tell everybody out there, like, what are your limitations with type three? Like, do you have a lot of movement in your arms or what?
Yeah. So when and I know we'll talk about caregivers and at some point during this because we can't talk SMA without talking about our amazing caregivers. Uh,
Mhm.
I have fairly limited movement, so when I'm hiring for a new caregiver, I'll say, hey, think of me like a quadriplegic with feeling, right? That's kind of where I'm at. I think that's easy for people to visualize, right, in their head.
Yeah.
I have complete feeling. I probably have pretty good feeling. I used to have a neighbor that that family had their built a home gym in their garage during the pandemic, and they would lift weights. When I say I have good feeling, like I could feel them deadlifting in their garage next door through the
Oh,
weight coming down on the ground, and I could just feel the vibrations through the ground. So, like, I kind of have a little spidey sense feeling when it comes to that. Outside of that, obviously, right now you can everybody on video and out there can see head control is here. Probably not going to do any headbanging concerts, but uh, I can move my head around just fine. With that, basically, I have a little bit limited use of my hands. I am able to use a trackball and an external trackpad to work via a on-screen keyboard. So I am a coder who does the ultimate HUD and peck. So I don't care anybody out there. If you don't can't type, you can still do it. I believe in you. So I can do it. With that, that's pretty much it. So I need help with all the basics, right? Bathing, dressing, feeding, and scratching my head, moving my hand from, my joystick over to my mouse when I'm ready to work, right? Or getting in bed, just the basic things of life. But once I'm up in my chair, I can do most everything. I'm up mobile and obviously working full time. Trying to rein back the amount of time that I'm working, and making sure I'm giving myself the rest that I need, and going from there. But that's kind of where I'm at. So it's just it is. That's
yeah,
life.
yeah. So tell me, you said you use a trackball on your computer. Do
Mhm.
you have an Apple or do you have HPs?
I run all Mac.
Okay.
Yes, I love my Macs. I'm one of those people. Though
Yeah.
I've worked on Windows for work and I've had Mac for personal and I have Mac for work right now. I can work on either system. I think there's pros and cons to both
Mhm.
platforms. But the trackball is just a Logitech trackball just to allow me that fine control. I still have good use of my thumbs. So, I always tell my team I'm just all thumbs here. So,
Yeah, yeah. I know it's amazing how much movement our thumbs can have, and like our hands
mhm.
might not move that much, but our thumbs do. It's weird. So you use the on-screen keyboard, that the accessibility. Yeah,
Yes.
that's what I use too. It's amazing.
Yeah, between that and then several other little trick tips and tricks that I figured out along the way that'll help out.
Mhm,
Whether that be the native dictation that is a part of Mac operating system, right? Or the nuances, Dragon naturally speaking for a
mhm.
while, though that doesn't really work out with coding as
Uh,
much.
uh,
Trying to code with voice activated software it does not work. You're just very frustrated all the time.
yeah.
We have not we don't we're close. We have a lot of good technology, but that one is still struggling.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I haven't used that in a long time, but I remember when I tried it one time, it would not get words right, and I'm like, "Oh, no, this is too aggravating."
Hmm.
So what about for your cell phone? What do you do for that?
So for my phones, I have an Apple iPhone. I
Mhm,
use the native built-in voice control features that
mhm,
are a part of the accessibility feature. I really like that. For me, that works well. So a combination of Siri, voice control, voice to text, go to
mhm.
sleep.
Uh-oh, please don't.
I said the wrong word, and
Oh,
now she's
no.
listening, and it's who knows where we're gonna call. So we'll find out. It'll be fun.
I know, I know. I had somebody, I don't know if you saw that interview, but I interviewed a person that told me they got fired from Siri.
Oh.
Apparently, it said, I don't know what, but it must not have been an appropriate text to their boss or to somebody. And I was like, oh no. But I could see how that could happen because it's typed some crazy things for me before too. So,
My friends know when I've had it with Siri because they'll just get one long text. There's all kind of random words, and they're like, "Okay, we're just gonna let it go. Tyler's reached his limit with Miss S, and we're just going with it today."
yeah, that's awesome. I know. We have to laugh about it
Hmm.
sometimes for sure. So you're able to just drive your wheelchair with a normal joystick, just a
I
regular
I
joystick?
actually have a micropilot joystick. So
Mhm,
because I've kind of lost that throw motion for a normal joystick in my wrist, but still have the thumb, right? All thumbs. Then I have this micropilot joystick that is, we're talking grams of pressure to move, and it's amazing. That's how I drive my chair. I'm pretty precise with it most of the time. Nobody's perfect. And
yeah.
generally, I try to avoid small children and cars. Outside of
So
that, you're fair game.
yeah, yeah. I know. I didn't even know those joysticks existed until conference. They had a booth set up there, and I was like, "Oh wow, this is amazing."
Hmm.
I mean, I'm still able to use a regular one for now, but I'm like, that is awesome for the future, if I need that. So
And who knows, in the future, they might have something even better than
better.
that, to where it's, I don't know. I wouldn't even be able to begin where to imagine, but just to see where technology was 5 years ago to now
I
versus
know.
where it's going to be in 5 years,
Yeah.
it'd be amazing.
I saw those robots they're trying to come out with, and I think they said they're gonna be like $40,000 or something. I'm like, that is gonna be nuts. Like, but they say you can program it to do almost anything you want it to do. They say it can do dishes, it can clean, it can.
The way some of these companies are pushing the envelope, the way
Mhm,
AI is pushing the envelope right now. We could talk about that in a minute too. It is
mhm.
very interesting because I know a lot of people look at this as at a macro going, why do we need this and all this? I think for us, especially those others with disabilities, like we're on this edge of like a independence revolution,
Yeah,
and being able to not be, dependent on having to hire somebody or have somebody at my house. We can have, a robotic caregiver, or maybe a robotic just person to help with the basics, right? We still have a human there to help with the really delicate things,
yeah,
but dishes or help with get the mail or vacuum
yeah.
or, get a drink. All these
Mhm.
things that many people unknowingly just kind of do, right? I don't think they're
Yeah.
taking it for granted. It's just that's life for them, and
Oh,
that's
yeah.
fine. But for us, it's like, man, if we could just have a drink whenever we wanted, that would be amazing.
I
Like
know, I
all
know
things, and it's just a different perspective. So I-
it is.
even though we're talking, tens of thousands of dollars for this, that price tag doesn't shock me because we're used to the medical world where the price tags are just ludicrous
Yeah,
in
yeah,
many cases. So I think even if it got to that point,
mhm,
it would be doable. Not saying it wouldn't be hard, but the benefit, the short-term pain of figuring out how to come up with that cash versus the long-term benefit of independence. Oh, I
yes.
think a lot of people will drive for that.
Oh, yes, yes. And now with all the smart home devices,
Mhm.
your curtains can be smart, the vacuum cleaners, like you said, the doors, I mean, everything. It's crazy, you know?
Mhm.
It's definitely going to be a lot more independence for people with disabilities,
Oh yeah.
for sure. So, well, I guess we can go ahead and talk about that while we're on this subject. So, what assistive technology do you have that helps you in your everyday life?
I have, as a tech guy, I'm a techie, I'm a nerd. Let's call it what it is. I love to tinker and all the things. So, people, my friends, family will say, I have every gadget known to man. Probably not every gadget. I'm getting
Yeah.
close. Though the ones that I really like that I've tried and kept with are the Amazon Echoes. I will not say the Miss A word to
Mm-hmm.
fire off anybody, though I could. Just
Yeah.
no, I choose not to.
Yeah.
The next thing I really use is called SwitchBot. They're a newer company, and they have a lot of awesome different products. I recently come across them for automating my blinds. I have a lot of windows in my home, and I wanted to automate my blinds so they're not just always open. Always. They have some amazing products. I love their UI. I love how they interact. They give a lot of freedom to do automation and to, trigger, do this action, these conditions apply. I like that granularity into things that you can't quite get with the Amazon Echo ecosystem, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
Additionally, smart locks for our doors are amazing. I with Quickset or Schlage, they both have good smart locks that integrate into homes. We talked about earlier the Apple ecosystem. The one thing Apple does very, very well is all of their products talk with each other and work with each other
Yeah.
very well.
Yeah.
And I love the little things of putting a emphasis on accessibility through Apple that they are, hey, your watch is got health metrics that you can have. Their AirPods now can actually be registered by I think cleared by the FDA. I'm not sure exactly, but no, FDA's granted it some approval for actually being hearing aids. We
Oh,
now have
yeah.
specific settings on your Apple Watch if you're a manual wheelchair user to measure pushes instead of steps. Just the attention to detail to be I mean, just to be um, intentional with developing this, not as a byproduct, but as a actual product, as
Yeah.
this is a targeted demographic we want to cater to and not a, oh, we have to because of some blah, 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 right?
Yeah. Well, speaking
Um,
of
go ahead.
Apple products, the watch. Do you have a watch? An
I do.
Apple? Hey, can you do it with your voice, or how do you use it?
So my primary goal was probably a little bit different with the watch versus maybe the initial. So for me, I wanted the health metrics. One of the big things was being able to have my respiration tracked. I wanted to track it on the macro scale, like years, like at night, track my sleep and track heart rate fluctuation, O2 levels, all that good stuff. That was my driver for getting for it. I wasn't necessarily worried about trying to use it to call somebody, to text, or anything like that. So for in that aspect, really my watch is my watch. I have Snoopy on my watch, and that's pretty much all I have on there. I don't really look for anything else, as I have my phone set up to where it's visible to me at all times. So if I wanted to do it on my watch, I would just do it on my phone, right?
Yeah,
It at the end of the day, it's also a safety net to where, the phones and the watches now can detect if there's a crash. So say I did just, eat it one day outside, running with somebody,
yeah,
chasing after, one of my littler nieces, right? And I just eat it and nobody's around, somebody's gonna get an alert, But
that's true.
outside of
I
that, for
never
me, it was
thought-
the medical benefits.
Yeah, I never thought about that with the crash detection. I never, for a wheelchair, I never thought about that, but that is a very good thought for sure.
Yeah, because I mean, if you flip one of these power chairs, you're gonna hit fairly hard. I've done it, and it does not feel good.
Oh, yes. All of us did. When I was little, I was on a friend's sidewalk, and the sidewalk kind of had like a ditch between the
Hmm.
house and the sidewalk, and my wheel just went off. And my cousin, we were only like probably 10 years old, and my cousin was with me, and I don't know how she did this, but I guess her adrenaline kicked in and she saw my wheelchair flipping, and she ran and grabbed the side of it and like held it up. And I still don't know how to this day she did it, but she did. And so I've never actually totally flipped, but I know people who have, and yeah, that must be really scary.
The one and only time I did it, it was at college,
I
and
was,
I was rushing with my fraternity.
oh,
No alcohol was involved. Just making that very clear.
yeah,
No alcohol was involved, and I was just kind of wrong place, wrong time, and just went over sideways. And I still remember to this day, like I started flipping and I started going forward. I was like, oh man, this is gonna suck. Because in my head, it's slow motion, right? Every
yeah,
time just slows down. You're like, I see the train wreck coming. Like,
yeah,
oh, this is gonna suck. And I started going forward, and then my chair started going sideways. I'm like, yes, I'm going sideways. Sideways is so much better. If you've never flipped a chair, save the face. All right. I mean, I know I have a face for radio as it is, but I don't need to mess it up anymore.
yeah. Oh goodness, did you get hurt or no?
I had a decent concussion from that and kind of cut up the side of my face. And
Oh, wow.
uh, I had two professors. This was that were near, and because it was at the end of like a sponsored activity, they were freaking out. They're like, "We saw our careers flash before our eyes. We're like, we killed Tyler." And I was like, "No, I'm fine. I'm fine." Concussions are a thing. That I think when we were growing up, we were rough and tumble. Like I flipped my manual chair left, right, and center. I'm pretty sure I took like 10 years off my second and third grade teachers' lives. I was constantly out rough and tumble because I just wanted to have fun. And my parents were like, "Do you have fun? Okay. You
Yeah,
okay? You want to go back out? Yeah. All right. Go for it." Right?
yeah.
Like, let's try to stay, all tires on the ground this time. Maybe try not racing the kids down the hill with potholes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I wasn't that rough. I mean, I was, but of course you're a guy. So I remember all the boys at NDA camp when we were little. Yeah, they would just go full speed through the fields and everything. I'm like, oh gosh, they're gonna come to a hole and flip this thing, but they didn't
Mhm.
care. They were having fun. They didn't care.
Yeah, gravity and I have been very close on many occasions.
Yeah.
Still works. Can verify. Tested.
Well, what fraternity were you in?
I had the awesome opportunity to be a part of Kappa Kappa Psi. They are a national service fraternity that provides services to the bands within the college university
Uh,
system. So with at Baylor, I have a kind of a musical background. For a while, I still had enough use in my arm through middle school, high school, college. So I actually played in drumline, the percussion, and was
wow.
able to mostly do mallet instruments and stuff like that. But I wanted to be a part of the fraternity, be, helping serve others.
Mhm.
And it was very interesting. They actually had a meeting specifically about me because it's a service fraternity. They're like, how can he serve, right? And the guy who ended up really making the pitch for me was like, do you see what he's doing? Like, just let him do it. He'll figure it out. And there'll be plenty of days afterwards where, I am, just dragging big piles of stuff with my chair across to where we need because I got the horsepower. Let's do it, or they're stacking stuff up, maybe at a band concert hall, moving chairs out of the way. They get a stack, and then I'm pushing it over to the side. Give me another stack, pushing it over. And we just figured out this stuff. And it was one of those things that a lot of them never probably had the opportunity to be around somebody with a disability growing up, maybe in our capacity. So that
Mhm.
was a very new thing for them. And I think it was a big learning experience for all of us. I love those guys to death. And it was really, really good time.
Well, that is really neat. Yeah, I was in a sorority at LSU, and I was actually one of the first to go through recruit. Well, we called it rush then. Now they
Hmm.
call it recruitment, I think. But I was one of the first in the wheelchair to go through. And so they kind of at first were like, but they figured it out, and they actually would assign like two girls to like walk with me from house to house, and some of the front doors I couldn't get in, so they'd have to take me like through the back door and all that stuff. But yeah, it worked out fine. So it was a fun experience for sure.
Oh, lifelong friends for sure.
Yes, yes, yes. Well, tell us about, we did your technology that makes your life easier. What about medical equipment? I know about your wheelchair, but do you have
Hmm.
anything else that you use?
So when it comes to medical stuff right now, I'm in an Amy Systems power chair. Been in an Amy system for now like 10 years. Love them to death. Though I say that with a caveat. I am in the process of switching over to Chromobile. Not that Amy System did anything wrong. Shout out to Amy System, great reliability. But I just wanted something different, right? It's kind of like our shoes. You're like, I just I need something different, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
I am in the process of going through that. That's been a learning experience as I am now going to be working with a national vendor. And normally I've been working with local vendors for, my DME and everything. And I wanted that because I want to do more traveling. So when I would visit a location via an airline, and we all know airlines are not the gentlest of thing people with chairs. I wanted to have at least the opportunity to be able to have somebody to call in another major city to say, "Hey, I have a major issue. I need help." With
Yeah.
that, I know there are other challenges that come with working with national vendors, pros and cons of everybody, right? I think I'm just used to the corporate world, so that doesn't bother me as much. I'm
Yeah.
just That's just the system. Okay, well, there are way worse things that we have to deal with. Okay, it's more of an annoyance at most. But so that's my wheelchair. When it comes to, I have a lift system in my home. I have a Handicare lift, which is a track-based electric lift that's installed in the ceiling.
Mhm.
Love them to death. I think that has been the best investment that I've ever done when it comes to medical equipment. It just makes it so safe for me, makes it safe for my caregivers, and you just have that track and it just go right along to where you need it. So I have it in my bedroom. So it takes me from my chair over my bed into my bathroom to, toilet area to my bathtub or wherever I need to be. I have a carousel in it to where I switch tracks to go to different things and
Yeah.
move through. Those are the big parts. I do have a like a Hayek breathing system that I'm trying out to help strengthen the lung muscles, so my doctor knows and we're okay at the moment for this, but I don't wear anything overnight. We're gonna leave it at that.
Hmm.
We have agreed to disagree at the moment, but
Yeah.
right now, on all honesty, um, I'm trying a system to see if this would be beneficial for others. It's I call it a turtle shell, but it's basically like a shell that kind of wraps around your upper body and puts positive pressure air into you to help you kind of breathe in. And
Oh,
then
yeah.
it
I saw that at the conference.
they were at the conference. So it's an interesting system. I think it's got amazing potential. It definitely has some kinks that are still need to be worked out, but I think that is well on their way. But that's really it when it comes to actual like just medical stuff. I'm very fortunate to really only have that.
Yes. Wait, so let me ask you about the sleeping machine. Can you sleep on your side with it or you have to lay on your back?
So this, you could sleep on your side with it if you wanted to because it's kind of strapped to you. Though I'm not sure it would be that comfortable, but I think you could do it. I'm a back sleeper already. I
Okay.
um we were talking about how smart things are taking over the entire home. I actually have a smart bed. So my bed I control from my phone. And a lot of times if I need to move, I'm just moving my bed up or down or legs up or down or making myself into a taco or whatever.
Uh,
But it's that's just for me. That's how I kind of move around.
uh, well, yeah, I saw that at the conference and it looked interesting because when I was growing up, I slept in an iron lung. I don't
Hmm.
know if you know what those are, but they
Mm-mm.
don't. Well, they actually made them for polio patients.
Oh, the iron lung. Yes, sorry. I took me a
Like,
minute.
yeah, that,
Okay.
and so, but then once I got like to high school, I was like, I really don't want to sleep with this anymore. And I knew
Hmm.
I was going off to college, and it was a big old thing to, I mean, you couldn't travel with it or anything like that. And so finally, I just quit using it. And then about 4 years ago, I saw a new pulmonologist, and he's like, "You really should be on BiPAP at night." And I was like, "Well, I guess I'll try it, but it's annoying the mask and."
Yeah, I definitely tried it. I think everybody's has that unique, their own unique situations. I have an amazing doctor, and her and I have a really good dialogue about why we want to use it, what my troubles are in using it.
Uh-huh.
For me, I live independently on my own, and having a mask on my face overnight when everything is voice controlled in my home or almost everything, that kills my independence. So we tried that, that didn't work. Then we tried just doing the nose plugs, but just the amount of air coming through, trying to speak with those,
Yeah,
just it doesn't make sense that the benefit didn't meet the trade-off in
yeah,
safety that it was impacting. Now, there could be a point in time where those things reverse, right? And we're in agreement, that we're not there yet, but we'll monitor and check and go from there and see where life goes.
yeah. Well, you also let me know how you like that. Because yeah, it did look very interesting to me. at the conference for sure. I was like, oh, I guess it's kind of like the same concept as an iron lung, except your whole body is not in it, like, like the iron lung
Hmm.
was made originally. So yeah, that's really interesting. Well, and what about I know you said you have a ceiling lift, which I agree is amazing. I have one too. What do you do when you travel? Do you have a Hoyer lift or
Yeah, I do have a Hoyer lift that I break out of the attic when I need and lug that thing around. Kind of sometimes feel like I'm like a giant pack rat with all the, okay, bring this, bring that, bring the toolkit, bring the, the cough assist just in case you get sick on the way. It's a lot to pack, but we pack it and then just in typical a lot of times and my PT does not like me saying this. Again, we agree to disagree. Is I prefer to just sleep in my chair when I'm out on vacation because I'm actually more comfortable that way. Doesn't mean I'm not taking a shower or anything like that, but just sleeping, I can get in a better comfortable position that I can control
uh,
versus getting in a bed where I can't move. I might have to get somebody to wake me up to move me. Whereas if I wake up, I can just move my chair and go back to sleep. I'm done.
yeah, yeah. Well, that's good. Well, I was just curious, do you run into hotels not being able to get the Hoyer like under the beds and stuff like that?
A lot. A
Yeah,
lot. It's quite frustrating. I've gotten to the point where many times I'm one looking for the roll-in shower. That's my primary goal.
yeah,
If we can't get the lift under the bed, I'll throw some towels down on the floor and I'm just get dressed on the floor and do what I need to do. Many of times I've also requested for a rollaway bed, and
yeah,
that's my kind of interim gap, right? We just
yeah,
move the extra bed out of the way, that rollaway works, bada bing, bada boom, you're done.
yeah, yeah. I've learned that trick or a pull-out sofa too.
Hmm.
That's hard too, but it's so aggravating. But you know what I have learned? We stay at the home twos a lot, and their handicap rooms or accessible rooms, whatever, they do have the open bed frame under them. And so anytime I hear that new city, I'm always looking for a home two because most of them, I mean, there might be some that don't, but I know. I wish all accessible rooms had open beds, like, and they don't understand when you call and you try to explain it to them over the phone.
Yeah.
They just don't get the concept of it. It's a
Yeah, I gotten to the point where I just asked, can you just send me a picture of the bed frame?
yes, me too. That's what I've done too.
Just
Yeah,
send me a picture and we're good. I'll know. Just send me a picture of the bed frame and of the bathroom with the quote unquote roll-in shower.
shower.
And because we always have to put that in finger quotes and go from there. So that way I can see visually, is it a true roll-in shower or is it a roll-in shower that's got like a little rubber lip over the front that your Hoyer lift catches when you're trying to get in the shower?
Yeah,
Or is it a one of
yes.
those infinity beds where the platform's more recessed back in and all the things that we have to
Oh,
go through when we're
yes.
traveling to make it work. But for
I
things like
know.
conference, worth it.
No, yeah, and they were awesome. I don't know about you, but whenever I got to the hotel conference, the whole bed was raised for me with bed raisers in the room.
Nice.
Yes, it was all done when I got there. As I had told Kira SNA that, I traveled with a Hoyer and, their beds had the boxes under them. So, yeah, I was like, oh, this is so awesome not to have to worry about any of that. Just come in the room and it's all accessible for us. As I wish this could be everywhere we went.
Hopefully one day.
I know, I hope so too. Yeah, I've seen that at the Bellagio in Las Vegas, some of their handicap rooms, have you seen that? Have the track lift on the ceiling.
Bellagio, the Aria, one or two others do as well. I've
Oh,
seen
really?
that, though I kind of try to avoid Vegas. It's not my scene. I've gone for conferences, like te technology conferences.
Yeah,
If the conference is there, I'll go. But I think as an adult, you go there once, or like, okay, I've done this once. I'm good. I'm good.
yeah,
Nothing to the people
yeah,
of Vegas. I think Vegas, and I think Las Vegas are, two different things. So
yeah,
the conferencey touristy part, I'm good with.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, but I was like, that is amazing that they did that in those hotels, though.
Hmm.
I was like, man, they could do that and all, but I know it would be a cost, but it definitely would be wonderful for us. Well, you told some about your family, your nieces, your nephews. What about siblings? Do you have any siblings or no?
I am a only child by birth, though I have I always call it a family shrub versus a family tree. Both my parents are remarried, and so I have technically step brothers and stepsisters. They're my brothers and sisters, just not by blood. And so I have two sisters and three brothers through there, and then I have some friends that I've grown up with that I consider them family. So if you've been at conference around me, the name probably Eli and Michelle has come up. If you know them, you know them. We're family, all three of us together. So though that's my family. I love them to death. They're that's people that they can call you at 3 in the morning. You're like, I need help. You're like, okay, I'm up. Like, let's talk. What's going on? Or like they roll up. We're like, hey, we got to go. Okay, whatever, those type of friends that they'll do anything for you and you'll do anything for them.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, those are awesome to have for sure. So,
Hmm.
do you know of anybody in your family that has SMA or no?
No, not in the entire family. We looked as a part of, the initial, I think, diagnosis era, from my understanding, and I don't believe anybody in our family. I'm just that special little guy.
The lucky one. Yep, yeah.
Hmm.
I know. It's so crazy. Like some people I know have relatives with it, and then some
Hmm.
nobody. They don't know anyone. So it's crazy how the genes work. Well, what are your hobbies? What are some things that you enjoy doing?
Right now, I'm in a hobby transition of life, if you will. I'm
Mhm.
kind of moving from, I think, one phase of life into a next, but I really enjoy audiobooks. I have some YouTube creators that I follow pretty consistently. Even though, I work in engineering, like I follow a guy out of Southwest Scotland who trims cattle's feet. That the hoof GP, like I love them. That is my decompression time after work. But I love being creative. So if I can, I might be working on a side project. Maybe it's 3D printing something. Maybe I'm working on some code stuff. I have some other side projects that I'm currently working on. I got in the works. Let's see if I can cook it up and have something by the time next conference is going on. So, we might do a little follow up on that later on, but we'll see. And outside of that, it is family time. Like I said, I have five nieces and a nephew. Any time I get to spend with them is time well spent,
Yeah,
especially in these years as they're growing up.
yes,
It's just amazing and scary how fast they grow up, and just getting outside and enjoying the days. And as I'm most of my days spent behind a digital wall, getting
yeah,
to interact with people around the world, but still being in nature just disconnecting as much as
yeah.
I can.
Hmm. Yeah, I know. You gotta get outside sometimes, even though the computer can bring you all those places, but it's not the same sometimes as being
Hmm.
outdoors.
For yeah, just for example, today I had lunch with my mom and I had a lot of calls today for work and I had like 5 hours straight of calls or six, something like it was a lot. And I got done and I was like, hey, can we just go grab something like drive through? And she was like, yeah, sure. So we went out and we just grabbed McDonald's. Nothing super special. But there's a donkey and horse rescue farm near my home. And so we grabbed McDonald's and drove to this horse and rescue farm and just sat and watched the donkeys and horses
Yeah.
just play and like it was just good decompression time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I don't know about there, but I know here the weather has been beautiful. The
Hmm.
so it was like 70 degrees in Louisiana today. So yeah, it was awesome.
Yes, it's nice we get out while we can because I know once it gets cold, right? I know a lot of us just physically hurt when we get cold, because we can't warm up like I
Yeah.
guess able-bodied individuals, right? Where that shiver mechanism doesn't really work. And once you get that cold sets in, it hurts your bones, and then especially us that have had surgeries or been rough and tumble in the early years, like I was. Your bones is hurt from the weather changing, and you're a human barometer. You're just like,
Yeah,
please pick a season, please.
I know. I always think of that during the winter. I'm like, how do people with SMA live up north? Because I don't know if I could do it because I don't hurt necessarily, but I can't, like, my muscles don't want to work. Like, we already
Yes.
have trouble with that as it is, but it makes it a whole lot worse when I'm cold.
I totally get that, especially with my driving hand on my chair. If my hand gets cold, it's like, man, that thumb really doesn't want to work right now, and I'm like, I need to warm it up. But for me, I know I've had several medical surgeries, and I've had being a rough and tumble kid, I've had a couple bone breaks along the way because I'm a rough and
Yeah,
tumble kid,
yeah,
and I feel those especially a lot more during the winter. Just I'm much more of a summer dude. I did, like I said, I did band, in Texas outside, when it's 100+ degrees. Like, bring the heat. I'd much rather take the heat any day of the week than the cold.
me too. That's how I am. And I know my friends, and they're always like, "Oh, it's so hot." I'm like, "No, I mean it's hot, but I'm fine. Like
Yes.
this is good for me, you know." So yeah, I'm loving this weather right now. I'm like, they could stay like this all year. We,
Yes. I love this.
mhm.
My electric bill loves this. I'm
Yeah,
not running the AC 24/7.
yeah.
Anybody living on their own paying bills, when it gets hot, man, those
Uh,
prices just go like, oh, my pocketbook.
yes. Well, speaking of living on your own, do you have caregivers that assist you?
Yeah, so I have three amazing women that help me out with my caregivers and that are that quote unquote work for me, if you will. But they help me. They're the ones helping me out. So I have somebody that gets me up and going in the morning. She's amazing, and we click, and we're all we're getting me up. I'm trying to take phone calls from different parts of the world for work, and it's always an adventure in the morning, but it's always awesome. And then I have another caregiver that comes at night to help me kind of wind down my night, right? So mornings, getting up, getting bathed, dressed, food, and on the computer for work, and then at evening, the reverse, right? Off the computer, and then life, dinner, and then get ready for bed.
Uh-huh.
And then I got another person who helps me do the same thing, getting me up in the weekends, right? I'd be remiss not to mention, I got family that helps out too a lot. My mom and dad are amazing emergency resources for me, and they both help me with like lunch or maybe a caregiver calls out because life happens, right? Someone gets sick, something
Yeah.
like that, and they'll help fill in from when somebody needs to be out. So I run because I work, right, and make a living and live in the state of Texas, which is unfortunately terrible when it comes to providing resources for people with disabilities.
Yeah.
So this is um, basically it's just I gotta be working just all out of my own pocket. So it's we do what we can and making sure what we're doing, and then but outside of that though, on the same side of the different side of the same coin, I tend to be very independent. So once I'm up, like I'm good, like doing my work, I'm getting what I need. So it's one of those like for my situation, I'm not needing somebody 24/7. It's I kind of just need the basics done, the bulk at the beginning and the end of the day, a little bit of help in
Yeah.
the middle, and I'm pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's how yeah, I mean that's how I am too. If I'm set up with everything, it's you can do it some of your own and
Hmm.
that's what's hard. Like do you have a service for caregivers or no? You just do
I do it all myself. I
okay,
would rather work with somebody individually and cut
yeah,
out the middlemen, especially when it comes to finances.
yeah,
That I'd rather that be more direct.
yeah,
It is harder in some degrees because you're having to shoulder the load of finding them, background checking. Anybody who's ever done this before, knows it is can be a circus trying to do. Um, we get some interesting people with interesting backgrounds, and
yeah,
sometimes that works out great, right? Opposites work and all that stuff. Sometimes it doesn't, right? So it's having done this since being on my own down at Baylor,
mhm,
now 18 years. You have a pretty good gut feeling, right, of
exactly.
red flags, and you trust your intuition
Yeah,
and really looking at the person. Um, I like to do what I call before anybody commits is having an observation day where it's a no commitment day where they just come in and observe and they can see it, ask questions, and say, hey, yeah, I think I can do this, right?
yeah,
Or have the out to say, this is not what I thought it was going to be. And cool. All right, cool. Thank you. Thank you for making this easier on me and easier on you, and not us getting in a situation where you get halfway through, you're like, I can't do this, or you end up hurting me or hurting yourself, and then we're in a much worse position.
yes. I learned that too because, like, even though you tell them everything in the interview, it's different when they actually see it in person.
Yeah.
And I had one not long ago that, she was like, oh, yeah, I can do this, I can do that. And then she came and she couldn't do it. So I learned that
Hmm.
like, okay, I'm gonna let him come for a day or so before I start doing all and I mean, you don't want to waste your time doing all the training and then
Hmm.
know. So, I totally
Yeah.
get that
Hmm.
for sure. Well, yeah, I think it's a lot easier to do it yourself, like you said, than having to deal with agencies and all that stuff.
Pros and cons for everybody.
Yeah,
Uh, I think as adults, it's easier to do it on an agency. I think maybe if you are, you're looking for your son or daughter, right?
yeah,
Like trying to, I would think the one thing that, you know, I think if anything I would have changed, early on, I think that would have been the one thing for my mom and dad. I wish we would have figured out earlier was how to get caregiving figured out early on to where one, I, as my own person, can start learning my voice, understanding how to be a manager and a care recipient at the same time, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Then while you still have that safety net of being at home with mom or dad or family. Um, jumped right into the deep end for better or worse. We all learned a lot. I think hindsight is always 2020,
Oh,
but
yeah.
it's always worked out. One of those
Good.
things I'm always just looking for people to have the drive to learn, to want to do a good job, and 9 times out of 10 that works out.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, there is that one time that it doesn't work out, and we have to move on. And I would always encourage anybody when you're kind of trying to make that decision, right? It's trust your gut, but also, give somebody a fighting chance to learn it. We all learn at different speeds, but if my limit is if I'm getting physically hurt, not intentionally. I'm not saying that they ever did anything intentionally,
Yeah,
but something that's just like, man, I hurt, after getting up or something like that should be a line of like, hey, you shouldn't have to suffer physically through somebody's learning process.
no, no. Oh yeah, I totally understand that. So, well, what about treatment? Are you on any treatment for SMA?
Yes, I am. I am on Spinraza right now. I started back in 2018. It took me 9 months to get through insurance and all the craziness to
Um,
then get approved and have my company bought out and our insurance changed literally during my loading doses. I was like, oh my gosh. I about lost it.
I know.
So we got through that. We figured it all out. Was doing that for a while. Then Evrysdi came on the scene. Stayed with Spinraza for a while, but my intrathecal injections or spinal injections, for those unfamiliar, were just getting really, really painful. I mean, we got to the point where we hit off some nerves because I've had a spinal fusion. We were going down at the very base of my back because the doctor who did my spinal fusion did his job very well. So we
Um,
are going out right by my sciatica nerve. We've hit off that nerve. It was a mess. So I tried Evrysdi for about a solid year and a half, but I did not have a good really reaction to it. It didn't, not that I went backwards or regressed in my symptoms any, just the other side effects did not treat me well. There were some GI things that went on, and it just logistically just didn't work for me. I think uh, so. We went through the process of getting off that, going on Spinraza again, and then going through the insurance circus and
yeah.
the you would think a drug that you were previously on and approved for with the same insurance would be like, oh yeah, sure, no. So
Uh,
gone through that, the headache of insurance, I think everybody feels. But I'm back on Evrysdi or back on Spinraza, excuse me, and um, gone through loading doses again. And I feel good. We have a different care team that is administering this, different location, whole kind of different setup, and it has been night and day difference in how uh, the procedure is done, how my after procedure care, all that, how I feel afterwards. And I don't feel like I just got hit by a bus every time. It is like, hey, you're like, yeah, I'm good. So um
so
it's a lot easier.
where do they inject it now? Where do
So
you,
they I've gone from a CT guided intrathecal injection at like L5 all the way now. We're doing fluoroscopy, so way less radiation, which is
okay,
great. And we're going up at C7T1. So there is a little bit more risk going up that high. But
cervix?
that is where we have a good opening. We're
Yeah,
not around any motor nerves. It's more sensory nerves.
yeah,
And I don't use any sedation when I get my injections done, just a little local injection. And for all of those out there thinking I'm crazy, probably. Um, but
yeah,
my doctor and I have a great time. We joke during the procedure. We talk music. He's got an iPod in there, and I get to pick music. Him and I go back and forth on songs while we're doing this. But we have a really good communication system that as he's doing it. Um, I can tell him what I'm feeling so he can adjust as necessary. And
mhm,
then, we're doing the dose. He can, because I mean, you're pushing fluid into your spinal column, right? For those who's thinking, yeah, that sounds painful. It is. You tend to invent languages and, but we have this system to where I can get a break and then he does a little bit more and then, okay, give me a second. Okay, I'm good. Go ahead. So we have this secondhand language, and I tell you, it has made all the difference in the world.
wow. But see, I almost have the same story as you. I was on Spinraza, then at Resty, then back on Spinraza. But the first time I had Spinraza, I had it cervical. And then
Hmm.
unfortunately, the doctor passed away. And so
Mm,
we have a new doctor now, and he didn't do surgery. He didn't feel comfortable doing it that way. So he does lumbar. And I'm like, you, I have a rod too. So he had to, at first they told me I could not do it lumbar. And then this doctor was like, oh yeah, we can. So he goes like through my side on my
hmm
lower back like that.
hmm
But yeah, so far I haven't had any pain, and I mean I can feel pressure, but Andy has hit a nerve. I think one time so far, but I mean that's to be expected. So, but for since you have a cervical, does it feel like you have a brain freeze sometimes?
No, I don't have the brain freeze. Sometimes I feel like I got hit with a baseball right between my shoulder blades.
Oh,
Um,
really?
I, yeah, just from the I think it's more the lidocaine that I get there.
Yeah.
And then I know sometimes I get some random nerve feelings and stuff kind of down the outside of my arms. Might get tingly or it'll just feel like it's off. Like hot doesn't feel right, cold doesn't feel right. But again, it's more sensory. There's nothing on a motor function wise, nothing's wrong, right? But it's just the sensory is a little like there's a little hitch in the signal. But outside of that, it's been the last two times I've been great. I'm like, I feel great. Like I do my 30 minutes laying down afterwards to make sure, we get a good seal back up in the back. I take my time getting up. I take two Advils for the drive home. Sorry, two Tylenols for the drive home, and cool, let's go. So I usually, even though I do feel that good, I've learned to listen to my body. I take the next day off work, make sure I'm resting and giving myself plenty of fluids, make sure I'm recovering and not pushing it, because that's one of the things that I do and my friends and family will tell you is um, I don't always listen to my body. And I'm like, no, let's go. It's fine. It's just whatever. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I know that's how I am too. I mean, I don't even lay down anymore. I did when I had a cervical, but now I just get right back in my chair and but I do try. We have a 3 hour drive to where I have to go.
mhm.
So usually before we get the car and drive back, I'll try and lay down at least for like 30 minutes, like you said. Just
Yep.
to make sure, because I do not want a spinal headache.
I've had one and only one, and that was
And
enough. But similar to you, I have about a 2 hour drive to where I go. I think it's 100 miles doorstep to doorstep one way.
oh
So
wow,
it is, I definitely want to make sure I'm good
yeah,
for the drive because usually I get the procedure and then I drive home that day. So I am definitely want to make sure. But I have my little routine, I get the procedure. I try to get the early morning slots, and once we get done, I'll lay down and I'll slowly get up after 30 minutes. Take some time. I'll get in my chair, make sure I'm good. Sit there for 5, 10 minutes, make sure I'm like, all right, I feel good, and then go home. And on the way home, we stop by McDonald's. I get a Diet Coke to get some caffeine, and keep hydrating on the way. And McDonald's fries just make everything better. So a little snack for whoever's with me, you myself, and whoever's with me, usually mom or dad, and then away home we go.
Well, yeah, I'm the same way. Well, that's good. I'm glad that it'll work for you that way. So, one last thing, what is the one thing you would like to advocate the most for the SMA community?
Ooh, probably a couple things, but it probably sums it up with uh, to the community itself. I think anybody associated with community is, are your expectations big enough? And just
Good
if
one.
I mean, really, people were like, "Oh, you have this and you have all these excuses," but I'm like, "But why is your expectation that I should have an excuse? Why isn't the expectation bigger?" So I would challenge everybody to say, "Are your expectations big enough? Are they?
Yeah,
We already overcome a lot as it is. Okay, we've done all this. Why not do more?" Right?
mm,
I get that is easy to say, but I think that it starts with ourselves. Are our expectations big enough for ourselves? Do we expect enough out of ourselves? Do others expect enough out of us? I think that's one of the things, we always hear about, the stereotypical, you go out and somebody's like, "Oh my gosh, we're so happy that you're out and about today." We've all experienced it. And and those associated that love us know that it's just like takes us everything to just be, you know what, bless your heart. And if you're from the South, you know exactly what I mean.
yeah,
So if you're not, Google it, and you'll find out children don't.
yeah,
But with that, it's not expectation to just be cool. Your expectation means just to be alive. No, my expectation of myself is to go make a lasting impact on this world. And what's yours? Right. And I would say that's for anybody, regardless of SMA or not. Just, do
yeah,
you expect enough out of yourself? And that's, where I want to be passionate about. I have the opportunity to help serve with the Cure SMA, in a more of an official capacity. So um, obviously today I'm talking here on my own, but I do help with the board of directors there, serving on a committee. But again, for disclosure, this is all me. So,
yeah.
but that's one of those big things, and I think Cure SMA does a lot of really great things, and I still think as a community, uh, we still have a lot more we can do for ourselves. So, like, are we thinking big enough? Do we expect enough? And challenge yourself to that, and then even if you don't end up hitting those expectations, I bet they're probably a lot bigger than maybe where you were, and hey, you've really pushed the bar a lot higher, and go from there. So that's where I'm at.
Yes, I love that. That is awesome. Well, that is the reason I wanted to start this whole thing. I got the idea of it at the conference this past summer, and I was like, after I was telling people about my experience, they just couldn't believe that, like, there's so many different types of SMA, and and just because we're in wheelchairs, like, we still have amazing jobs and families and, everything. And so I was like, I'm going to start this so people out there can see what our regular, normal lives are. So, and that is awesome that you help with the Cure SMA and yes, for sure.
There'll
So,
be other projects coming for me over the next year, so we'll stay in touch. But I got some things where I've asked that question of myself, and I'm working to push the bar for myself to have an impact in the community like you are.
oh, awesome. Well, I love that. Yes, I know. I just thought of the idea and I was like, well, I guess I'll try it and see how it goes. And so for those of you watching out there right now, watching this live, thank you for joining us and watching us. And for those of you that could not watch live, it's going to be on my YouTube channel, Living with SMA. And I shared it on my page, and it's also on Tyler's page as well for if you want to go watch. And also, there is a link if anybody would like to donate. Any donation would be greatly appreciated. All of the money goes to amazing things like research for all the different drugs that are out there for SMA and support and equipment for families. So lots of good things that your donations go to. So if you can, just donate. And if not, we hope that you enjoyed watching this video. And thank you so much for joining, Tyler.
Well, thank you for having me. I would say, couldn't be remiss to say, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. Make sure
Yeah,
you're subscribed to see more amazing stories in the future
yeah.
from our friends and friends that we get to make along the way. And I look forward to what the future holds.
Oh, well, thank you. Me too. I'm excited. I've had really good luck with lining people up to interview. So, if you have any in mind, definitely send them my way. I'm trying to find different ages and different
Mhm.
people that do. So, yeah, if you have any suggestions of people, just let me know.
We will talk.
All right. Well, have a good night.
You as well. Thanks everybody that's online. Y'all have a great rest of your morning, afternoon, or evening. See ya.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Bye.